Let's go make this precious Christmas tree stuffy, but first, always remember to share this so it will save to your profile and you can find it when you're looking for it again later. I started by going to Hometown Quilt Company, downloading this Christmas tree template, and I cut out 2 pieces. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can cut out your template, trace it on your quilt scraps, and sew it and then cut it out, or you can cut your quilt scraps out and then sew it. Doesn't really matter which way you do it. I cut mine out first and then I'm going to sew them together. But before I do that, let's put our bow on there. I have some cotton canvas frayed edged ribbon that I'm using, and I'm going to cut a piece about 24 inches. But it doesn't have to be exact. I'm just using this because it's what I have, but it is gorgeous. But if I didn't have it, I'd use whatever else I had. So we're going to use this because it's what I have. And y'all know I'm obsessed with everything made from bulk quilts currently. And these we're making from my quilt scraps of the other projects that we've made. So I have my piece of ribbon that's 24 inches. Fold it in half and find the middle. You see that? Now we're going to make an M. Do you see the M? All right, there's the letter M. And then we're just going to tie it. Just like this. Bum, bum, bum. Easy peasy. Now we're going to stitch him right in the center of our Christmas tree. Now if you don't want this in the center of your tree, you can sew it to the top, but if you're sewing it to the top, I would do that after you sew it together, not before. Now we're going to put this one on before because I want it in the center of my tree, and if I don't sew it on right now, I have to hand sew it, and that is not my best life. So after I print my bow to look exactly like I want it to look, I'm going to place it on the tree where I want it, and then I'm just going to go behind the loops of the bow and add a few stitches here and here. I'm going to stitch and back stitch a couple of times just to make it stationary on the tree, so when my little people are swinging it around, it won't fly off. So now I've sewn my bow on. My piece doesn't have a front and a back, neither one. They're the same on both sides. But if your piece has a front and a back, you will lay one piece pretty side down and the second piece pretty side up. Now, I'm gonna go and straight stitch all the way around my Christmas tree, except I'm not going to sew from here or maybe here to here. I'm going to start sewing here and I'm going to sew all the way around, and when I get to here I'm going to stop to leave this hole so that we have somewhere to stuff it, because we have to put our stuffing in it. Now I'm going to sew this with a straight stitch and a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to get the 1/4 inch seam by following the edge of my fabric with the edge of my presser foot. I'm not going to look at my needle. I'm only going to look at my fabric and my presser foot, and that's going to give us a constant 1/4 inch seam. Now we're going to sew this all the way around, then we're going to take it off and we're going to stuff it and close our hole up. So when I sew this, I'm going to back stitch when I start and when I stop because my grandma said so. Okay, this is what we have. Now we're going to stuff our Christmas tree. I have some polyfill, but I also keep all of the pillows that my little ladies have beat to death to use the stuffing out of them. So use whatever you have. Use some old stuffing from an old pillow, get you some polyfill, stuff it with, I see people stuffing their projects with fabric scraps. Mine always ends up looking all lumpy and stuff. I don't love the way it turns out. Theirs turns out precious. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. If y'all have some tips, tell me about that, because I would be into that for sure. Polyfill is expensive, and I have tons of fabric scraps. When you're stuffing it, make sure that you are pushing it out to the corners, because you don't want your corners to be flat and the rest of your Christmas tree to be fluffy. Okay, I've stuffed my Christmas tree. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. I'm going to slide it underneath my sewing machine and I'm going to sew it closed. This is a little bit more difficult. Actually, it's a lot more difficult than what you did a minute ago, sewing it together. But I dislike hand sewing so much that I'm not hand sewing this shut. But if you wanted to hand sew this shut, that would be perfectly fine too. I'm going to close my hole up with a straight stitch. I'm just going to stitch and back stitch and follow this 1/4 inch all the way from the beginning of my hole to the end of my hole. And that's it. Precious Christmas tree. Super easy. Great project for using up the scraps that you have, and the most precious Christmas decoration. I'm already excited to see the ones you make. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.